again, everyone. In this tutorial, I am going to show you how you can swap around different spellbook powers for both normal game mode and also War of the Ring. I'm going to show you a few extra things as well to keep in mind when you're trying to mod the game files. And I'm going to do this through the Age of the Ring because there is an additional spellbook roster, as you may know, for its overhauled War of the Ring mode. And I know there's a lot of people out there who are very disappointed with the way that they overhauled that mode. I have kind of mixed feelings about it myself, so I've been looking to try to remedy some of the things that I thought were mistakes. You know, one of the common criticisms of it is that the spellbook rosters for each of the factions is just not they're not unique. They took away a lot of their unique flavors and feels and all of that, and so I think it'd be nice to show you guys how you can try to customize it, get it back to the way that it used to be in the pre 8.0 days for War of the Ring, for those of you who are interested. Alright, so first things first, I can't remember if I had said this before, but in case I didn't, what you want to do to be able to actually test your modded game, you can't just do it from your default, you can't just go play Age of the Ring and it's going to go to your modded game, unless you're just modding your original game, and that's not very wise. You always want to have a copy. So to go to your copy for your modded game, you go up to here, Config Paths, AOTR directory. And when you go into your AOTR 8.0 file, wherever you copied it, you always want to be sure to click on the lowercase AOTR folder, and then hit select folder. Okay. So you'll want to see it in your drive, AOTR 8.0, and then lowercase AOTR. Alright. Now, when we go to mod it, what you're going to want to do, first things first, you're going to also make sure that you want to have open your Rise of the Witch King file for 9.0. Alright, and then when you go to look stuff up for the vanilla game, which we're going to need to do later for the game data, you make sure that you go to your the correct game data file, whatever the patch INI file is. I covered this in the previous episode, episode 3. You want to make sure that if you're doing this for version 9.0 of the vanilla game that you manually install, that you see this file, see this up at the top, you see this file in your main ini.big, or not .big, but your whole directory of files, and you'll see this towards the top. And if you're doing your HD, or not your HD version, but your all-in-one launcher version, it might look a little bit different than that. I've never installed it via the all-in-one launcher for 9.0, but just keep in mind it's not going to be your ini.big file. It'll be a file that looks a lot like this. And again, I cover that in episode 3. Alright. So, now what you want to do when you want to edit a file, or excuse me, a spellbook power, you want to change things around. Alright, so I've got a couple of different ones popped up here now. This is going to be your default one. You want to go to commandset.ini. We're here in the Age of the Ring. And I showed you this a little bit in episode 1. But you go here to AOTR in your AOTR 8.0 data ini, and you go all the way down to command set, right? Okay, now this is what it looks like. This is my modded one over here, okay? I'm going to show you a few things about this now, just so you can see it clearly as a comparison. Alright, so we're going to what I did to find this, by the way, to easily find it, you can see this is down towards the middle of it, but the logic behind it is that I just typed in Spellbook, the search bar, Control F, right? You bring up your search bar, and I just typed in Spellbook, and this is the first thing that pops up, your Men Spellbook command sets. Now, these are all of the default ones for skirmish mode here, all the way down here. And obviously these are the heavily modified versions for War of the Ring mode. Now, there's 2 copies of each. There's 2 different versions of each. You've got your Men Spellbook command set, right? And then you've also got your Men Spell Store command set, as well as one for the War of the Ring version. And you have to keep in mind both of those, otherwise you're not going to be able to do this right. This is a very simple editorial process, though. So, what we're going to do, like I said, we're going to go with the War of the Ring one, but this works the same way for your skirmish ones, your normal skirmish ones. All right, so let's say, well, one of the things that I personally have always been disappointed in is that there is no Aragorn for the Gondor faction. I love Aragorn, one of my favorite characters, and I've always thought it was a good idea to have him as a the Return of the King version of Spellbook power. I like that. But then they took him out for War of the Ring. So here's what I wanted to do. I wanted to put him in there. Now you can see that these are all numbered. There is a logic to these. You can pretty easily figure this out. You know, if you remember your spell book, so this would be on your far left, at the top left, your healing power. Number 2 is going to be in the top middle, that rallying call default power, and so on. Number 4 is going to be your middle left. Number 5 is going to be the second from the left in the middle, and so forth. Now, you'll see that some of these are not included in the spell book. And you can see here that there's a semicolon in front of it. This is important, so pay attention to that. So, let's say you wanted to add the LSR spellbook power. Okay, now, you have to know where to find it, of course. As you can see over here, I have already put it in. And to do that, all you have to do is put a semicolon right in front of the previous one, or the one that's there automatically, and then type in your spellbook power right below that with the number 12. Whatever you do, though, do not, I repeat, do not delete any one of these lines of code. If you do that, it will crash your game. You won't even be able to boot it up, if I remember right when I was testing this out. All you need to do is just add an extra line. Make sure that the original default one has a semicolon in front of it, and that's it. Don't delete them. Now, I did this for 2 different areas. I put the spawn LSR power up where the heal power normally is, just because I want to show you at the end of the video here it working. But I want to make sure that it's something that I can just access right offhand. Otherwise, you know, you'd have to wait forever to get the top tier version. All right, now as I said, you have to keep in mind that you have to use Men Spellbook command set and the other one, the purchase one. Go down, you go to Men Spell Store command set, and you input the exact same spell, okay, right down in there. But you have to make sure that it says this, not what's up there. I mean, it is the same spell, spell spawn LSR, but you put purchase in front of it, and that's it. Yeah, instead of spell book spawn LSR, it's spell purchase. And in this case, you know, we've got it in the top one and the bottom one as well. So keep that in mind. All right, now, to get to the point where you know where to look for your spellbook powers, you go over to, I believe it's command set. or excuse me, not command set. That was stupid of me. Special power. All right. You want to know exactly what the name of it is. And in my case, it was kind of easy. All I did was when I brought up the special power INI over here in that whole list of files, go down to special power INI. Okay. And in my case, all I did was a search for LSR. Very, very easy. You know, you kind of have to know a little bit about what you're looking for. There's certain, you know, specific names that might not be able to pop up unless you know specifically what you're looking for. And you can do this for the War of the Ring versions as well, as you can see right here. So it's a little tricky. Just kind of fiddle around with it. I don't know of any easier way to do it. You can always look through some of these as well and go that way. You know, go over to your command set and look through these names and then go over to special power and see if that's the same thing as well. But I also say to be sure to go over to your special power, because when you want to change the reload times on it, like the cooldown times, you're going to go right here. Reload time equals spell recharge time tier 4. Alright? And this is key. If you want to change that time, like in my case here, when I put it over in the top or the lower tier roster, I want to be able to change that time, because what's going to happen is if you just put it up here, it'll work. It'll be up in the top left corner of your spell book to replace the healing power here, but it's going to be grayed out. Now, obviously, it shouldn't be grayed out because they're, you know, beginning game spellbook powers. So this is where you would have to change it in the game data. All right, you go over to your vanilla INI, which is what we have opened up here. You go down to your game data. Data, INI, game data. And you just quickly or easily, you can just copy and paste this into the search. Boom. All right. And then what you're going to do, you're going to change. Now you can do this a couple of different ways. Obviously, you can change the values here. As I said in a previous episode, this is put in thousands. I have since learned that this is in milliseconds. This is highly precise. And so all you got to worry about are these first three numbers here. This is 180 for 180 seconds, obviously 3 minutes, and so forth down the line. You can change these if you want to. Or you could just simply copy this and put it over this, like that. And obviously be sure to save it. File, save. Alright. And then you'll have a functioning spellbook power, lower tier version of LSR. And that'll have a very short cooldown time. Now you can see at the top of the special power INI screen here, it says a War of the Ring version of it. Now, the War of the Ring version of the spell recharge times, I have not been able to find those. As I've said in previous episodes, I'm no professional modder. I don't always know. I mean, there's a whole host of things I really don't know, but certain things I do. And in this case, I just don't know. You'd think that you'd be able to find it over in the gamedata.ini, but keep in mind that you are accessing, in this case, the vanilla version. Now, obviously, the War of the Ring versions of these spellbook powers are all Age of the Ring versions, and they can't be found in the vanilla game data INI. And if you go over to the game data file for Age of the Ring, It's a very, very short document, and it does not include that there either. I'm not too sure exactly where to find that information, what the specific recharge time is for those powers, if they're any different from vanilla's or not. I honestly don't know. If anyone out there does know, please feel welcome to share it with me. I'd love to learn. And that'll help everyone out there, obviously, to continue to edit these files as they see fit. Now, the other thing that you need to keep in mind, though, is you also have to have science.ini, and that list. Go all the way down to science and pop this up, okay? Because you want to be able to change your prerequisites. Now, as you can see here, I've already changed them up a bit. Yours is going to look different. It's going to be more like one of these up here. Might have a longer or shorter list. I can't remember now. I think it's kind of short. And all you have to do to make this prerequisite a lower tier spellbook power in place of that healing power that I showed you over here is just delete everything that's after this point here. It's all gone. So you have no actual prerequisites like the other science or the other powers do. And then, by default, of course, this is going to be 25, just like the Vanilla Army of the Dead is a 25 PowerPoint cost. We want it to be 5. So I changed that already, obviously. And obviously, if you wanted to make different prerequisites as you were going through, swapping through, and swapping over different spellbook powers, you'd have to start understanding too what other powers names there are in order to change up the requisites. Just as long as you keep each of those science good and science evil prerequisites in there, depending on if you're a good faction or an evil faction, of course. Just keep that in mind. Some of these good and evil factions, they kind of use different versions of the same thing. But in general, an evil faction one is not going to have science good, and vice versa for the good factions as well. So keep experimenting around with it. That's the general rule of thumb in regards to the prerequisites. It can be a little tricky, but just be patient with it. So there's a number of files, just to review, that you're going to have to go through here. You want your command set.ini, your science.ini, and your special power.ini, as well as your game data.ini. So there's quite a few files that you have to kind of work through here, but there's a logic to it. It's relatively simple and straightforward to get through. You just have to be a little patient. Alright, so now that we've changed that up, let's see if we can't pop up the War of the Ring mode and see our hero, Aragorn, leading the charge. Alright, here we go. Alright, moment of truth, here we go. Boom! There he is. Return of the King, Aragorn. Now, as I said, I put it in both the lower tier and upper tier slots. So it's going to look a little funky here in a second. I also put in the Army of the Dead, by the way, in case you didn't notice that earlier. So, it's a little funky here, but I just wanted to do this just to show you exactly what you could do if you really want to. There's no need to put it in 2 different slots, but it's just funny to show you. Alright, so we're going to wait for the cooldown a little bit. It won't take very long, as you can see here. It's probably only a 3-minute cooldown time, so we'll just wait for a second here, and I'll show it to you. Play a quick game, I guess. Set up shop.
Who needs something built? Release the arrows.
We mustn't let them close.
Alright, our boy is ready. Here he goes.
Frodo his chance if we keep
War of the Ring
Sauron's
mode
eye fixed
with
upon us.
Elisar.
Ready.
And he can do it all, man.
Fight. And I will hold your oath fulfilled.
So yeah, that's Spellbook modding 101 in a nutshell here. Not really much more to say other than that. Now, one of the things that you're gonna have to keep in mind here, this is just a temporary Spellbook summon for once you get over to the overworld map again, that's not going to carry over. There's a whole other way of carrying over units, and I can do a tutorial on that. Bringing back persistent units. Stay tuned for that. That is definitely coming. But in this case, Aragorn is just going to be a permanent for your real-time battles. So just keep that in mind. And if you have any questions or concerns about any of this, just let me know, man. Thanks so much.